Hello and welcome to the Proptech Hot Seat here on iPropertyRadio with myself, Carol Tallon, the show where we explore trends and technologies driving innovation across the built environment. The show is brought to you in partnership with Proptech Ireland, the hub for innovators, investors and indeed for industry leaders. In the Proptech Hot Seat today, I'm really excited to be joined by Wouter Truffino, a name that's well known in Proptech circles. He is the initiator of Holland, Proptech and Contech. Wouter, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Carol. Nice to be with you. Amazing.
Well, Wouter, we've been sharing your content for many years, going back 2016, 2017. So actually anybody who's familiar with PropTech Ireland should be familiar with the work that you're doing as well, because I know we've relied heavily on some of the innovation that you guys have done and some of the research. And you're definitely somebody who is really championing not the advancements of technology across the built environment, but increasingly driving that more towards maybe the climate tech and helping real estate operators to not just achieve ESG standards, but really to understand what those ESG metrics need to be. So talk to me a little bit about, first of all, just so we understand the ecosystem for PropTech and Contech or construction technology across Holland. What is that like right now?
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Carol, for the nice words. Indeed, we started 9 years ago already, so it's been a long while. Of course, there's been a lot of changes in those 9 years. We had an economic crisis going on. We started in a great market, actually. We had a pandemic in between. So a lot of major issues have already occurred in those 9 years. But right now, the ecosystem, well, a lot of things are happening because of climate change, of course. New materials, bio-based materials is a hot item. The energy transition, it's a hot item. ESG is a hot item because of regulations that are coming in from Europe. And then of course we have housing affordability. It's a hot issue. Rents are going up, so that's I think also the basis of the crisis. That is what is happening on right now. So there is a lot of stuff happening right now in the construction and build environment. It looks like a perfect storm, and then you have also, well, the solution side of it. We stopped calling it startups and scale-ups a while ago, because that was like a nice to have, and we need to go to solutions that are really bring value. And if you find those solutions, then you can really build a business case around it as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, actually. It's one that's worth emphasizing there because, again, through PropTech Ireland, we would have seen something quite similar. So, yes, we absolutely have a mandate to support startups and scale-ups in the area of using technology to innovate across the built environment. But the reality is the industry is a lot more sophisticated, I think, than maybe tech innovators from outside of real estate or construction perceives it to be. And the reality is these are experts who know their industry and they know the problems within their industry. And I think what's really interesting is that, like you, I've been kind of on the working on the innovation of these industries for almost a decade. And the reality is what we've learned over that time is that even if a problem is identified as such, not all problems deserve to be fixed. Not all problems will be resourced by the industry to be fixed. So actually, we learned a few years ago that you have to take the industry's lead in terms of the problems they've identified as priorities, but also ones that actually need to be tackled.
Be
And they
solved.
have. They've really been around user experience. So we see whether it's cross residential or commercial, some really interesting things in terms of improving the user experience right across the transaction for people who are buying and selling property, leasing and rental commercial spaces, living in rented apartments, or actually the social side of how we operate in commercial spaces, which is increasingly important. But
Yeah.
definitely the last 2 years have been dominated by ESG. And not even just ESG, the social is a huge part of it. And the governance almost is happening as a result of this increased digitalization of the industry. But the sustainability, the environmental part, that's really the interesting one. You have the benefit of not just in Holland, but I know you work across Europe and beyond. So what are you seeing as the key drivers of, say, the sustainability or the environmental technology innovation? Is it coming down to regulation? Is it coming down to funding? What are the drivers?
Yeah, I think the main driver is regulation, for sure. But besides that, you see also within the corporate side, you see leadership that is changing a little bit. I think the main driver there again is the regulations because they need to do something. But a lot of people also see that we have a major issue with climate change, with CO2 emissions in the built environments, like 40% is our responsibility. So we need to act and we need to do something about that. And you see that there are solutions that you can make a difference. And then that you also can get better loans, better terms if you have green buildings. So for sure, money, regulation, but also vision. It all helps to start doing something and to start implementing these solutions that are there. And ESG for sure has been a major shift on that. The Green Deal in Europe and everything that comes with that, with the ESG stuff, the CSRD, the SFRD, the EU taxonomy, all those things help a lot to embrace this change.
I'm curious about some of the solutions, and I definitely want to talk to you about those, but you might just talk us through some of the problems because in a lot of cases when you're working trying to promote innovation, there are some assumptions around the problems. So talk to me about the realities of the problems. Let's start by looking at the construction side first. What are the real problems that are being reported on the ground that people are looking to tackle this year?
Well, I think also, for instance, in the Netherlands, we have right now new regulations coming up on that you need to be able to always have an insight on what is happening on the construction field side, but you also need to have this data in order the years after. So when the building is in use, you still need to know how the building is being built. So data is coming a major issue, and have your data in order is even more becoming more important. So you see companies working on that on a big scale. I think that's for construction really important, and then for the real estate people, real estate developers. Well, energy is a major issue right now. The energy net is overflowed, or how do you say it? It's the capacity is completely full. So if you start a new development, you really need to be sure that you have one way or the other. Your energy use of the whole building or whole development, that you have this capacity in hand, and that you are able to keep your project still in development.
I think it's really interesting when you talk about having the data, because in fact, in the last number of years, it feels almost like we have, I won't say too much data, we have more data than we understand what to do with. And I think maybe where the shortfall is in perhaps extracting the insights from that data, but also, because the nature of this business is such that when a vacuum appears, it will be filled. And what we saw was an increase in different international and global certifications. And now I think a few years on, we're starting to have a conversation around actually what are the right metrics? What do we need to be looking at? What do we need to be measuring? What are the important metrics that we need to be focusing on, and what are the ones that will really have an impact in terms of, as you refer to, the 38 to 40% emissions that the built environment is responsible? What are the important metrics that will really make a difference and impact here? So in terms of understanding when we enter an environment where everything is important, then nothing is important. So in 2024, what is important for people when they're trying to understand how they're building, whether it's an existing building or a planned building, how it can genuinely have a positive impact, and it can do something in terms of contributing positively towards the built environment, because what we're seeing now is carbon offsetting is just not going to be acceptable for the
No.
built environment.
So everything is going to net zero.
Yeah. So
in the end.
talk to me about some of the solutions and maybe some of the important metrics that we're working towards, or for the built environment clients that you're dealing with. What are they focused on for 2024?
On the solution side?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Well, actually, we're looking right now with the ESG awards that we're organizing for a lot of solutions. So I don't think that it's the right moment for me to mention already a couple of solutions, because I want to be open and independent and not mention too many names in this. But I think it would be very interesting to see what kind of solutions are all coming in. So we're now scouting the whole world to find the best ESG solutions. And we bring this together at MIPIM on the 12th of March. Then we also publish an ebook with all the solutions in there in different kind of categories. So that will make it also easy for construction real estate companies to find solutions on the problems that you are facing, so that you can implement them.
I'm delighted that you brought that up, Wouter, because I'm really excited. And within Proptech Ireland, we're really excited about the Global ESG Awards, and we're delighted to be involved and support the initiative. So it is really exciting. This is the inaugural Global ESG Awards, and the applications are open. Are they open right now?
Yeah, they are right now till the 31st of January.
31st of January. So what have you started to receive applications at this stage?
Yes, we have now nearly 30 applications coming in. So that was just between the Christmas holidays, of course. And around 150 people that already registered as a user on the site. So they are working on their application. So I think we can expect would be nice, between 300, 400, 500 solutions. That would be great.
Amazing. You might just take us through, how many categories do you have?
Yeah, that's good. Good question. We have 6 categories right now, Carol. One of them is for the corporate personality. So that's for corporate ESG managers, ESG directors working at real estate or construction companies. That's the ESG Leadership Award. Mm-hmm. And then we have 5 different kind of categories for solutions. Do you want me to run over all of them?
Yeah, I think that'd be really useful, actually, because not only do we have PropTech startups and scale-ups listening in today, but actually what we found is that some of these technologies can be targeted in new ways. And I find that really exciting, and a really exciting opportunity for startups and scale-ups in Ireland, but also those who are already on the ground offering solutions. So I'm delighted to see the corporate leadership, because I think that's really important. And it's funny, about 2 or 3 years ago,
you need people to embrace it. Yeah.
But what I think is a really nice opportunity here is that actually it was almost starting from a level playing field. A couple of years ago, I started to see on LinkedIn some of my network who were facilities managers, building engineers, all different professions, suddenly changing their title to sustainability manager. And actually, we joked about it in quite a flippant way. It was like, oh, everybody got educated and trained overnight. And I was a little bit cynical about it. But what's really interesting is to see who has risen up to the title, who has actually started to deliver there. So actually, while we joked about it in a flippant way maybe 2 years ago, actually what we've seen are really good ESG leaders emerge. And these are, we're going beyond just thought leadership to really practical, taking really practical action and doing it in a very open and transparent way, publishing fantastic case studies, so their competitors, so their peers don't get left behind, and they can follow. And to me, the essence of leadership you can't be a leader if you don't have followers. So for me, if you're in corporate leadership, you have to do it in a really open way.
You have
So
to
you're
share your
bringing
knowledge.
people along. You have to share your knowledge. So I'm really excited about that one. But in terms of the categories that might be of interest to, say, our startups and scale-ups and our innovators listening in, what are the different solution categories?
Yeah, so the number one is what we start with is the Compliancy Award. So this is for the best solutions that comply with all different kind of regulations. So that has everything to do with what we just talked about as well, data collection, but also reporting, like the CSRD and the SFDR and EU taxonomy, for instance. So everything that has to do with compliancy.
Excellent. And then what are some of the others? Because I think the regulatory one, look, that's an interesting one. I think EU taxonomy has actually made it much easier. I think that's been something that people welcome. They want this, but there's an education piece that maybe hasn't gone along with it. So having that built-in compliance is almost I don't say it's as standard, but actually if you're selling a solution in the market that doesn't have that, you probably aren't ready to be in the market.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So what
But
are some of the other focuses?
The next one is Eco Balance Award. That's for the best solutions for climate change and pollution. So everything that has to do with CO2, with climate neutral solutions, with net zero buildings, with energy savings, all that kind of stuff will come into this category.
Okay.
And then the next one is Aqua Biodiversity Award. So that's the award for best solutions for water and marine resources, but also biodiversity and ecosystems. So everything that has to do with water savings, biodiversity, building with nature, all that kind of stuff will go into this award. I think that's also a major category and some major issues for real estate.
Yeah, well, actually, it's one in Ireland that has been very separate to real estate and the built environment, anything that happens in our marine area. And we've had our challenges in terms of water infrastructure, but actually both water infrastructure on the island of Ireland and accessing our marine spatial planning and our marine resources for around Ireland is subject to huge legislative change right now. So it's a really interesting time. I'd love to see some Irish solution providers entering that.
Yeah, it is. I think it's an issue all over Europe. We had a very dry season in the beginning of the year. Right now, it's a very wet season. So we have flooding in Belgium, in France, in the Netherlands, in Germany, all over the world. Rivers are having some higher water volumes. So how do we deal with water? How do we deal with water within our neighborhood? How do we deal with water in development? Can we stick the water on our roofs for a long time? Can we stick it in the water in the ground? So I think these kind of issues and solutions really need to come together.
Wouter, are you absolutely focused on technology, or is there a space here for an innovative approach? Because, sometimes I think we kind of conflate those two issues, and sometimes they're different, but actually, like right now we have very similar issues here in Ireland. And actually just this week in the media, there's quite a lot of talk about the state having to rise up and maybe start to provide some flood insurance, just because the flooding has been unprecedented. And obviously commercial providers then learn from this and don't want to come into impacted areas, which could actually wipe out the economy of a town very quickly. So this is the kind of solution that, yes, technology will play a part, but there really needs to be an innovative approach, almost like a complete business model redesign for some of these solutions. And I feel the same around mortgages and some finance areas as well. So will you be solely focused on the technology, or are you innovation?
Innovation solutions from all different kind of perspectives. That's okay. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. And by the way, I think it's worth pointing out here that actually behind the Global ESG Awards, there is a new network, EUBIN. You might just, the Building Innovation Network, you might just talk us through this.
Yeah. And then after I will then name the last two categories.
Oh, please do.
EUBIN, we started this the end of December, I believe, together with Sarah Schlesinger from Germany. She's from Blackprint. And we thought we needed to create a new network, EUBIN, so it's the European Building Innovation Network, where we bring together all the associations, but also all the capital companies, so the VCs, angels, to really come together as a network to really help forward the industry in all this different times, and to help them on a positive change and a positive way to show them which kind of direction the industry is moving by technology, open innovation, and digitalization.
Excellent. Well, I want to come back to that because I'm curious about the role you see angel investors and the VC ecosystem, the impact that that's likely to have, because in Ireland, ours really is just evolving. It's taken a huge step forwards in the last number of years, but it's just evolving. So I do want to come back and talk about that. But you might just talk us through the final two categories there of the awards.
Yeah, the final two ones. The one is Resource Excellence Awards. So this is for solutions that have a solution for resource use and circular economy. So this is like new materials, reuse of materials, bio-based materials, all different kind of new stuff that is coming on the market. Also for a better CO2 print, I believe. And then the last category is a Communicare Impact Award. So this is for the best solutions. This is more focused on the S of ESG, affected communities, consumers, and end users. So communities within buildings or areas, how to engage people living in areas, everything that has to cope with that.
Fantastic. I talk a lot about the S in ESG because I have met people who think that stands for sustainability, and I said, no, the social is so important.
Social,
and we can see it. You know, we probably put that under the title of placemaking because I think that ties it all together, and the sustainability of a place is huge. But the reason we need a place to be sustainable is for its people. So people are always at the heart of place, and sometimes particularly in Proptech, I can see that gets a little bit left behind. And so that's why I'm really excited to see so much focus on user experience across the entire use of the built environment. But the social side, to me, is where I think the big opportunities will be to get place right. So I think things like the environmental factors, they will almost need to happen by excellent design. But the social is really, that's a bit like the magic sauce. You need to bring the people. So look, I'm conscious of your time today, so I don't want to say much further, but I am interested there just in terms of EUBIN and the work that you're doing. I mentioned it before, Ireland, and I know back in 2017 when we first 2016, 2017, when Proptech Ireland came together, it came as a response of really, we had very little VC action happening in Ireland, and our angel investors, they tended to veer towards industries that they were familiar with, and that tended not to be construction or real estate. Now, that's absolutely changed on both fronts in the last number of years, but I suppose taking not just an Irish approach, but a more international approach. What role do you think angel and VCs have in terms of supporting the right innovation, so to really have an impact on the built environment?
Yeah, I have sometimes a different kind of opinion on it. I believe the VCs and angels, we need everybody. So we need the VCs, we need the angels, we need the networks, we need the corporate companies, we need the corporate VCs, we need everything in this ecosystem to support, to create a better built environment. But sometimes I see VCs or angels or networks focusing too much on like one solution and to promote that solution because they have invested in that or they have a stake in that. But there are so many more solutions out there, and sometimes a combination of solutions is maybe even a better solution. And that's what we have been talking about, I believe, actually already before the pandemic, that a consolidation would be great to happen. But it never happened. And maybe now it's going to happen because there is less money in the market, and startups and scale-ups need to show that they really bring value And like we started the conversation, it's not the nice to have, but they really have a business case. So they have really a right to be in business. And that maybe is going to change a lot. So that will be, so maybe this will be 2024 will be the year of collaboration. Yeah, and
You
I
know,
think that would be good.
I
Yeah.
think it's interesting. And I think for the last number of years, we really thought that we'd start, and we did, to be fair, we did start to see more M&A activity across the PropTech space and particularly actually on the construction technology space. But I think it's interesting when you describe it as not one solution, but a combination of solutions. But I'm not sure that consolidation is the only way to achieve that. I think actually all solution providers need to get better at integrations. And I think one of the concepts we've been
Can be
trying to
integrations,
introduce,
it can be M&As, it can
yeah.
be, but it's also a combination between VCs working more together with the networks and vice versa, so that we know what is going on and trying to help each other out. So collaboration is, in a lot of ways, can be made possible.
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, again, one of the things we've been trying to do over the last number of years, because we saw that solutions were almost being pitted against each other as competitors when actually they did slightly different jobs. And once you became familiar with them, you could see they were each generating value, but in a different way. So actually, one of the things we've been really trying to
Yeah.
do in terms of the education and awareness is to talk about a tech stack. Because when people have invested in technology, it's really important that they understand that's great. You've invested in this piece of technology. It's good that it's working. And now it has to integrate with another piece of technology that's going to solve another problem that you have. And that actually we could be looking at a tech stack of 10, 12, whatever pieces of technology. And so I think integration is the magic word, and it's not new, it's not sexy, it doesn't seem very
Yeah.
innovative, but the reality is to get our processes working really well for the users and for the industry. I think integrations has to kind of be our magic word. And there's still some problems, some nuts there that need to be cracked. We still have some solutions that are very good and they just don't play well with others. And actually, if they don't play well with others, I feel they'd be left behind as our systems become more streamlined. So 2024,
Yeah.
I think, will be an interesting year. Before we finish up, Wouter, I definitely want to remind people that the applications for the Global ESG Awards are open until the 31st of January.
Yeah.
Obviously, we want to get as many global applications in. Being selfish, I want to see as many Irish applications in or Ireland-based applications in. Whether they're coming
For the
from
Netherlands.
startups. Well, startups, scale-ups, any solution providers. So I'd love to see a really strong Irish representation there, because we have some great innovators here. And the number might be small, but the impact has been quite large. And that's what we've seen. One of the great things about innovators in Ireland is that, unlike in other countries, in some other countries, because the marketplace is so small, they are primed for export.
Yeah, that's good.
So actually they have that natural advantage, because if you're not primed for export, you don't survive through your early funding rounds. So
Yes.
actually, Irish or Ireland-based startups tend to have to be better at an earlier stage. But by doing that, they have a resiliency, and they're once they're geared for export, they tend to be able to enter new markets. And because we have suppliers in the built environment, like our data centers, construction, some of our main contractors are property developers who are Ireland based, but developing world-class developments right across the world. They tend to bring their supply chain with them. So that's a huge advantage for Ireland-based
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
innovators. So
Yeah.
anybody, Ireland-based innovators, please get your application in. This is a great opportunity to showcase the best of what you could do. And Wouter, before we finish up, tell me, what are you hoping to see through these awards?
Well, I hope a lot of solutions. I hope a lot of new solutions on a global scale. Also, what is happening in Asia? What is happening in the Middle East? What is happening in the Americas? And what is happening in Europe? And maybe we can divert some major trends out of that. I don't know yet, but let's see. So what we're going to do after the MIPIM, after March, we will bring out also an ebook with all solutions in there. So even if you did not win one of the awards, you still get a lot of value out of it, because we're going to share this with the whole community, so that a lot of people get these insights. So yeah.
Well, I'm
If
really
not
looking
yet
forward to it.
have done it, go to www.globalesgawards.com, and then you can see everything and nominate your company.
Wouter, thank you so much. Proptech Ireland is delighted to be involved and supporting this. I personally am delighted to take part in the judging and on your jury panel. And I look forward to catching up with you in person in MIPIM in Cannes, or at MIPIM in Cannes in March, which will be quite quick coming around. So final shout out for any innovators there. 31st of January is the deadline. Please do apply. We'd love to see some strong Irish innovation well represented, not just in the awards and not just at MIPIM in March, but also actually being published in that global ebook that will be a resource for the industry. So absolutely delighted to be involved, and we ask anybody who has an innovation to please put forward their application. Wouter, thank you so much for giving us your time today and going through all that. That was Wouter Truffino, Initiator of Holland, Proptech and Contech. My thanks as always to our producer Carol Tallon and to the production team at Hear Me Roar Media. Before we go, just a special word of thanks to our sponsor, Proptech Ireland, for supporting the podcast and for making these conversations possible. And thank you indeed for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next episode of the Proptech Hot Seat. In the meantime, please be sure to check out all of the other Irish and international real estate and construction shows on iPropertyRadio.